Across the United States, you'll find connectivity dead zones. In 2018, the city of Loveland, Colorado decided to do something about it.
We're a mid-sized community just north of Denver. Our school district was really struggling with having standardized testing take place within the schools because they didn't have good connection to the schools either. And so they were actually rotating students between the different classrooms because they had to limit bandwidth.
The city built its own fiber network, debuting its service in November of 2023, partnering with the municipal broadband provider Pulse to do so.
There are way too many communities in this country that the incumbents either don't want to serve at all or they don't want to serve all of it.
Which is why cities increasingly say,
I want to own my own infrastructure. I may not build it, I may not run it, but they should be my assets.
Without us being in the market, we would not have true competition.
So why aren't more cities building their own networks?
There are currently 16 states with laws either banning or otherwise hindering municipalities from offering broadband.
And this light reading documentary will explore the fight to change that.
Well, here's a question for you. Should the internet be considered a public utility like electricity or water?
High-speed broadband internet access is not some optional add-on.
You know, we using dial-up connection for our credit card machine. If we had internet, it'd have been like that, you know?
It's estimated 30% of U.S. households lack broadband at home, and as many as 42 million don't have the option to purchase it, especially in rural areas where there isn't much of an economic incentive for operators to deploy their services. As a result, municipal networks are on the rise. Since January 1st, 2021, nearly 50 new municipal networks have come online, adding to the 400 or so already in operation. This, as dozens of other projects remain in construction. It's a surge that municipal broadband activists say speaks to the internet disparities that exist across the country. Despite internet service providers spending nearly $2 trillion to build out internet infrastructure since 1996.
And most of the community broadband systems, public broadband systems in this country tend to be in smaller cities and towns, rural America, not in the large cities, because they tend to have more choice. But in a lot of places, there is no choice, and there's a choice of one or a choice of two, and that doesn't really work.
Gigi Sohn is among the nation's leading advocates for public broadband. She serves as the executive director of the American Association for Public Broadband, an organization dedicated to helping communities own their internet infrastructure. But before that,
would a person who tweeted that pejoratively be deserving of the position that you're seeking?
President Biden nominated Sohn to become commissioner of the FCC.
I think it has nothing to do with the position that they're seeking.
It led to a 16-month battle on Capitol Hill, with Sohn ultimately withdrawing her nomination.
This nomination has turned into a spectacle.
At APB, Sohn continues her fight for equal internet access, only this time the fight isn't along party lines.
If you get down to the local community level, this is not a partisan issue. Communities care about getting people connected, making sure they have it and they can afford it, and making sure that it benefits the community, as opposed to, private companies looking at its return on its investment.
But the restrictions against them tell a different story. Nicole Ferraro covers broadband, policy, and the digital divide at Light Reading.
When it comes to reasons behind banning these networks, you will hear arguments from opponents that municipal networks are a failure, that they are a waste of taxpayer dollars, and that local governments lack the expertise to run broadband networks. And these opponents will often surface some cherry-picked data to support that argument. But advocates of municipal networks and municipalities that are successfully operating them will say that opposition to municipal networks is usually coming from the incumbent providers in the area that don't want that competition and the groups that they pay to do their bidding.
Were there failures at the beginning? Absolutely. Like, was the Philadelphia public Wi-Fi experiment a disaster? Yes. But do we also want to talk about the disasters in the public sector and private sector, Adelphia? All the money, the public money that went to companies like CenturyLink and Frontier to build in rural areas that never got built or got abandoned. The second argument, and I love this one because it's so thin, is that the private sector shouldn't compete. against taxpayer dollars against local government. Well, please name me one big company, and they're the companies that tend to fight this, that don't get a federal dollar, particularly now. So the notion that somehow, community broadband is competing against this purely private enterprise is a joke.
Without us being in the market, we would not have true competition.
Loveland completed its network in November in partnership with the municipal broadband provider Pulse.
The other providers are really stepping up. They have improved their pricing. They have improved their products.
Pulse services available in Loveland include internet, TV, voice, and Wi-Fi with speeds up to 10 gigs. The investment totaled $110 million. Pulse funded the network through revenue bonds, which are backed by the Loveland Electric Utilities Enterprise Fund.
We are at almost 35% market share across the community, and that includes customers that were signed up and have been on, or service has been available since 2020 and up until just, lighting the last couple of service areas. So we're expecting that number to continue to climb. We don't buy out contracts, and we don't offer promotional pricing. That's not our business model. We offer a fair price and no contracts. So that means that sometimes can take customers a little bit of time to switch over if they have to roll off of an incumbent's contract.
Public opinion is on the side of municipal networks. We actually saw this recently in the city of Bountiful, Utah, when an opposition group with ties to the cable industry recently tried to stop a municipal network from moving forward in that city. The city council had previously approved the municipal network, and then this opposition group came forward to try to stop it. But community broadband advocates rallied the public around the issue, and the opposition group was unable to gather enough signatures to stop the network from moving forward. So public support is helping to grow municipal networks. Another significant reason we're seeing momentum for municipal networks is the BEAD program, the federal government's $42.5 billion broadband equity access and deployment program.
The BEAD program will expand high-speed internet access across the country with over $42 billion in investment. Funds will be allocated to each state and U.S. territory based on its infrastructure needs. The National Telecommunications and Information Administration will distribute those funds to states and territories based on a broadband map that shows internet disparities across the country. For more information on the development of that map, check out our previous documentary on light reading.
With BEAD, the Biden administration has called on states to ensure the participation of non-traditional networks like municipalities in that program, and to describe if and how states will waive their existing restrictions to such networks. So some states that are focused on making the most of those BEAD dollars are also assessing and reconsidering the municipal broadband rules and restrictions that they have in place right now.
High-speed internet is not a luxury any longer. It's a necessity.
The digital divide has been a trending buzzword in technology and politics for years, a topic that vendors and politicians often unite around as they promote new technologies and infrastructure investments to connect the country. But is that possible if viable solutions to the challenge, like municipal networks, aren't part of the national discussion?
I think it's vital that we have a sector whose primary incentive is to connect everybody, no matter who you are or how much you make or where you live, with robust broadband, because it's essential. I know there's been a resistance as a regulatory matter to call broadband a utility, but it is. Name me one important activity in daily life that doesn't necessitate a broadband connection, and there are not many anymore.